welcome to the Cartoon Factory. Jim Gilbert here, as usual. Just finishing up the rough sketch of the aluminum can we did last week. I added feet. We're going to turn this into one of our little flyers or posters today. I'm going to be working on the normal size 8.5 by 11 paper that I normally use, just because a huge piece of paper won't fit amongst my pile of notes and papers and drawings and stuff. So if you want to use a smaller piece of paper for something like this, go ahead. If you want to use a larger piece of paper for a larger poster, that's fine too. You know, I thought what would probably be the best idea would be to do 2 or 3 posters using the same drawings that we used last time. You know, why go ahead and start drawing stuff all over again when we can use the time to put together the flyers or the posters? You know, what you want is you want your poster to say, hi, you know, we're going to do one that says, let's have a party, or something about recycling or whatever. Or like if you're into cooking, you could do some little vegetables and stuff, and you could put maybe your favorite recipe in there. Or I even thought last night it would be a lot of fun, and I think you can still buy the blank sheets for this. Make your own calendar. Wouldn't that be great? Sit down and draw whatever your favorite cartoon is, and then turn it into your very own calendar. You know, we might even do that somewhere along the line. But today we're going to work on the same drawings we worked on last time. Get yourself some paper. Get yourself a pencil. On pencils, while we're on the subject, I've had a couple of people write and ask, why does my pencil show up so well on the Air versus the type of pencils that you guys use in school or are used to, which is the yellow number 2? It's because I use a very soft lead art pencil. If you want to get a pencil like this, or you want to start working with softer lead so that your lines are darker, which of course makes it easier to do your tracing if that's how you decide to ink it up at the end, you can just go to any art supply store. A lot of craft stores have them now, and just remember that the higher the number goes, the softer the lead, as long as there's a B behind it. When you're working in school, or you have the yellow pencil, which I don't have one, it has, up on the end here, it'll say a 2. Okay, that's a 2B. If it says HB, then the lead is going to be a little bit too hard for you. So the higher the number, as long as it's followed by the number B, you have a nice soft lead pencil. I use a 6B pencil. It works out very, very well for me. I have seen them as high as a 9B, and I think even a 12B I saw the other day. But when you get into those, you've really kind of gotten away from the lead, and you're kind of into like a charcoal, and I don't care for that. And one other thing, and for you, I'm going to sacrifice a pencil. If you have trouble with your pencil when you're drawing and the tips break off and stuff, it's probably because this happened. It got dropped. When a graphite pencil drops, the lead inside breaks. And that's why you can end up, you'll be in the middle of a drawing and all of a sudden the whole tip falls off. Just a little pencil safety tip there, because you never know what will happen when the pointy end of a piece of graphite fires off. I mean, I've never heard of anybody being wounded by that, but you never know. Maybe there's like little graphite Indians that run around and grab it and throw them at you like little spears or something. Okay, anyway, enough of my nonsense. Let's go ahead and start our posters, flyers, whatever you want to call them. Okay, we started off last time with balloons, so we're going to go ahead and redo the balloons this time. We're going to set them up a little differently, and we'll make our first little poster here. Okay, I'm going to come up to the top corner. We'll move our paper down so you can see better, and I'm going to put our balloons up here. Now, if you remember, we had a pear-shaped balloon, and we had a round balloon. So we use the same things. So we put in the pear and the circle. We put in the little W for where the string attaches. And we'll put the face on, little J, the figure 8 eyes, eyebrows, there we go. Tongue and teeth, and then of course, don't want to forget the highlight mark. And by the way, when you get into coloring, when you color this in, you would leave that white. We'll go to our little round balloon now, put on the little L shape, curved line, put in the eyes, eyelashes, curved eyebrow. Eyelashes, curved eyebrow, and then your highlight mark. Run the strings together. Now, we might want to doll this one up a little bit more than just that. We'll put the wording in there in a second. But maybe you want to use a little bit of confetti and some streamers and stuff. Streamers are really kind of difficult to do because people make them difficult to do. They want to have the lines run exactly the same width on them. That's not necessary. You just put down your squiggly line, and then you put a second squiggly line next to it, and if it even looks close, that's fine. And confetti, you simply draw little squares all over the place. So we'll do that. We'll have the streamers coming from this one corner. We'll put a little confetti down here also. Okay, a streamer. You just go like this. Okay, doesn't make any difference how the shape is. And then come back and just kind of, sort of, get close to it. And if it's thick and big and fat or real thin or whatever, that's not a problem. Run another one like this. Come back up. Remember, you cannot make a mistake. We'll put in a little bit of confetti here. Now, the closer the confetti gets to you, the larger it would become. So we'll put some larger squares of confetti here. And then in the middle here, let's put down, let's have a, and then here, party. There. Now you can take this, and you can go out and you can ink it. You can color it in with any kind of colors you want. You can make this as big as you want or as small as you want. You know, and if you're going to have a birthday party or a get-together at your house and you want to let your friends and stuff know, it's really kind of nice to send out a little flyer. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, but Jim, I can do a flyer on my computer. And that's very, very true. But there's a lot of folks out there that, like me, I really have a difficult time with computers. That's why I use the pencil. Matter of fact, when my son brought his very first computer home, I looked at it and I said, oh, you've got a typewriter with a television set on it. Now you can do two things at once. Just recently, I learned how to turn one on. Now, I'm not knocking computers at all. The only problem I have ever found with computers is if you do a party poster and somebody else does a party poster and you're using the same program on your computer, you're going to have the same poster. If you do it by yourself, but this way, or if you do it this way, then scan it into your computer for the lettering, then you have a unique poster that's all your own, or a unique flyer that's all your own. Okay, now last time we also did a sports thing, so let me shuffle my notes. Now today I fooled you. I normally have my notes up here. Today they're down here. So if you want to see my notes today, you probably have to look a little bit higher to get the angle. And you would think that by now I'd have everything in place and everything set to go. But then, of course, knowing me, if that ever happened, you'd know you were watching the wrong show. I've never been organized in my whole entire life. I have mountains of paper stacked everywhere. I used to say that the reason I didn't clean up after myself was because I was so busy, I was thinking and creating all the time, that I simply didn't have time to pick up my mess. That worked for a while. Now, when I'm in the middle of putting together the shows, I do have a gigantic mess, but I've been recently informed that it would be nice if the patio was boxed off and all the show stuff was moved out in the patio so that we could once again have a dining room. I don't know if you've ever tried to sit down and eat like a platter of spaghetti or whatever with cartoons laying everywhere and having videotapes dropping off into the sauce and stuff. It is not a pretty sight. Anyway, that excuse worked for a while. Okay, let's go ahead and do the sports one now. We're going to use the same characters. I'm going to put our bat running down along this edge this time. So remember, we started off with a cylinder, large at one end, small at the other. Come down. This is also the first time we've ever done anything that's really considered perspective. That's why it's a little larger at one end, it's smaller at the other. It's all shaping down into this area. We put the L's on for the handle. We round off the top. And then we put that big smile on we had before. Let's see, got to move my notes here a second. Ah, that's right, we used a backwards G. It doesn't make any difference. You could put any letter in there you want. I just wanted to make it the same as we used last time. That's all. the bent back B, and the eyebrows. And I think I'm going to come down in here and taper this just a little bit more. Now, you don't have to if you don't want to. I just think it might look a little bit better. There we go. And maybe make them a little bit thicker up here. Now, you see the way I'm moving my pencil back and forth like this to get this line? A lot of people will tell you you shouldn't do that. You should do that all in one continuous flow. Eventually, that's true, but as far as I'm concerned, if it gets you drawing, I don't care. We'll move down here to the corner, and see I've tilted my paper so that it's a little more comfortable for me. And we'll put our baseball in. And we'll change our baseball just a little teeny bit, because this time I'm going to have it looking up at that evil old bat that knocked him over the fence. So I tilt the face a little bit, put the eyes in. Now remember, our little buddy here has got a black eye thanks to that mean old bat. So we'll take and we'll put the black eye in. And we'll put the curved lines in this time just a little differently. We'll make them larger on one side, smaller on the other. That way it makes the ball look like it's looking that way. We'll put our little row of X's or V shapes here for the stitching. There we go. Now, up in this other corner, I think to balance it off, I'll put the baseball hat. And let me move my notes one more time here. See, I told you, if you ever tune in here and you see some guy sitting here with a beard and he kind of looks like me, but everything is neat and clean and everything's stacked up and ready to go, you know it's not me. You'll know that but the mothership finally came down and I've been taken off by the aliens and they've replaced me with somebody that's neat. So if that ever happens, call your station and say, that's not Jim, because the guy's got everything lined up and that's not how Jim works, we know. All right, now the hat. Remember, we start off with the letter P. We'll tilt it up a little bit here. Put that there, like so. Turn this back around to make the bill. Put that big old cheek there. Add the eyes. And we'll have him staring down at the ball this time. Put the little button on top, and then we won't show quite as much netting this time, so we'll kind of just drop it down like that. That way we're changing directions on our characters a little bit. Now once again, if you want to take and go from this point, refine this a little bit more, you know, switch it around a little bit to satisfy yourself, that's fine. Or from this point, if you want to put this into your computer and then you want to generate the lettering and stuff, the fonts, or maybe even a little border line around the outside, and you can do all that. I know there's certain programs out there you can do that with. That's cool. I mean, that's just absolutely fine. Matter of fact, when I'm doing the puzzles, I brought some with me. I'll dig them up in a second. When I'm doing the puzzles I work for a syndication company also, and when we do the kids' puzzles, that's what we do. I do all of the cartoon work, and then my son puts the computer, the boxes and stuff in it with his computer. And it saves a tremendous amount of time, and it gives you a very neat effect. But I'm just still an old stickler. The lettering and stuff is fine. I would rather see you build your cartoons and feed them in. Okay, enough of my preaching. Let's go ahead and put this back together, or finish it off rather. Let's run like a little border here, and maybe one here, and one like this, and one like this. Kind of box it in a little bit this time. And we'll put down, let's play, and then we want the word ball to be really big, I would think. And if you get industrious and you want to come down here and like make this look like a diamond on a baseball lot or something, that's cool. No problem with that. If you want to add more bats and more balls and make them smaller, that's fine too. Okay, now, as I started to tell you last time, I've really been into recycling for a long time. And we were talking about that you know, about recycling and stuff the other night. And when I was a kid, you know, we didn't have plastic bottles. We had glass bottles. And the glass bottles had a deposit. When you bought like a soda, you bought the soda plus you paid a couple of cents, you know, for the bottle. And a lot of people saved them for a long time because, and I don't know if they knew this was going to happen or what, but all of a sudden the price of the went up. So bottles you had paid 2 or 3 cents deposit on, you were getting like, you know, 5 or 6 cents a piece back for, which doesn't sound like a lot of money, but, you know, 30 some years ago, actually 40 years ago, that was quite a bit of money. I hated it when that happened, not because I don't like making money, but at that point in time I worked at a store and I was a box boy during the afternoon. On Sundays I went in and helped clean up the meat counter, but on Saturdays they stuck me in the bottle room. Now the bottle room was this little, well, not a tiny room, but it wasn't a huge room. It was dark, it was stinky, and what they did was during the week, all the glass bottles that came back, they threw in the bottle room. Then yours truly had to go there at 9 o'clock in the morning. I had to go through and separate all the bottles and put them into the right containers. Because every company, of course, had their own box and bottles had to be set certain ways. Now, the reason I wasn't real thrilled with the fact that the price on bottles had went up is because all of a sudden there was this tremendous glut of people bringing their bottles in. What normally took me 2 or 3 hours in this stinky old room was now taking all day. So what I would find myself doing, I would get so mad at the fact that I had to go back to the stinky old bottle room. That was part of my job. It had to be done. But whenever I'd buy a Coke, I'd go out, now please don't do this, but I used to go out and I'd buy a Coke and I'd walk along the railroad tracks, and when I finished with my soda, I would throw the bottle down on the railroad tracks and let it blow up. I didn't care that I was going to lose a nickel on it. It didn't make any difference to me at all. That was my rebellious period. And what we used to do with cans is we would take, because they were steel cans to begin with, they weren't aluminum cans, we used to take and lay them sideways, and then we'd step on them. And if you stepped on it real hard, it would wrap up around the heel of your shoe, and then you could pretend you had taps on your shoes. And of course, it was very, very difficult to walk. If you drug your feet, you'd shoot sparks off, which was really kind of cool to do at night. But a lot of times, if you were like me, because I've always been big, when I hit it real hard with my foot, what happened was it would bend up around my heel so much that I couldn't get it off my shoe. So I'd walk around with a stupid thing on my shoe all day because I couldn't get it off until I took my shoes off and got a screwdriver and started prying it and stuff. I don't know if you can do that with aluminum cans or not, but when you're crushing them, why not give it a try, right? See if it'll work. Anyhow, so then came along plastics and then came everything, and now we're into the recycling age, which I think is marvelous. And what I'm going to do next for you is a recycling poster. Like, once again, I'm working small, but if you want to do something like this, you can do it big. And, you know, one of the things that I've run into over the years is people say, well, you shouldn't tell people they're going to make money if they recycle. Well, I realize that you should do it out of the goodness of your heart, and you should do it because you really care. But let's face it, gang, if there's money to be made and you can make it by recycling, why not do it? It's a great incentive. Even if you want to make the money and give it away to a worthy cause, anything, but I mean, let's have some incentive to do it other than you just should. So I've argued with a few people about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to put together a nice little poster here. We're using the same characters that we drew up last time, and we'll do a nice little recycling poster. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here into this corner. I'm going to run some smaller characters around the edges this time, and I think we'll put our steel can up here. So that was the cylinder, and you see I'm making it fairly small. We'll drop our line down, curve it, and put the face on. Now if you want to, you could run another line here and another line here to show a label, and you could come up here and put a second line to show a little bit of thickness. But on something this small, you probably wouldn't have to worry about it. We'll come over here now, and we'll do a jar, I guess. No, matter of fact, I don't know if I showed you how to do a jar or not. Let's do one real fast here. You start with your oval. You drop it down like it's a short, stumpy cylinder. And then you can use almost any shape you want. A good shape to use is something like this, where it's just got a slight curve to it. And then we'll curve off the bottom, and we'll put a second layer in. And if we run a label, we don't have to do any more than this. But if it doesn't have a label on it, then you'd show the back of the bottle. And maybe these lines here. Okay. And since this is glass, you'd put your highlight mark wherever you want to. And let's just go with the letter C for the nose. Big cockeyed smile. We'll have this one looking down a little bit. Okay, so there's your jar or your bottle. So we'll move it up to this corner here. Remember, we had the little cylinder. Drop it down. Put that second on there. Put that cockeyed smile. Okay, and Jim's at it again. I need to shuffle my notes. There we go. Now, another thing I didn't show you, which you can also recycle, is paper. And paper is real simple to do. You just simply come like so, and you make a rectangle. And if this is computer paper, let's straighten this out for you. This is computer paper. Some of them still have the little, the little dots on the edges. You can add that. I find it very effective to curve the corner so it looks like it's bent down, and then we add a nice little face to it. Okay, and the pupils. So we'll put him or her, it was a her, wasn't it, because of the eyebrows, here in this corner. And then we're going to put the main character right here, which is the aluminum can. And remember how we did that. We had the cylinder, or oval rather, a little larger oval. Drop down here for this oval, and a smaller oval here. This time we're going to add a little thickness on the edge. Put the pull tab on. Now, there's been some folks that will say that if you save your pull tabs and give it to, like, you know, Lighthouse for the Blind or whatever, they'll get a free dog. And I've heard that that's not true. So if you want to add value to your cans, just leave the pull tab on it. Gives it a little more weight. We curve down like this and this. We add this line here and darken it here. We'll come down here and here. And we round off the bottom. Now, last time we used the C for the nose and M for the eyes, a capital I for the mouth, and I went ahead and added feet by just simply putting ovals on. And I added the hands, and what I did was on this hand I added some coins. Just put partial circles in here of different sizes. And in this hand, we'll just put some rectangles to represent dollar bills, money. Finish them off with however you want to. And then we'll just put up across here that it pays to, whoops, I won't clear off the paper, didn't I? That was pretty good. To, and then I think on the bottom we'll put recycle. Okay, there you go. Now, we've done 3, I think, or maybe 4 different little flyers. If these were larger, they'd be posters. It gets your point across. It's a lot of fun. People get a good chuckle out of the fact that, you know, rather than just an old aluminum can sitting there, you have this character now saying, hey, it pays to recycle, or, you know, recycling is fun, or whatever you want to do. Anyway, go out and make yourself some flyers and make yourself some posters. Let me show you a few drawings here. This one came in for Zelda, who is, as I've said before, she's doing just fine. Thank you very much. Silas, this is a great job, marvelous. Well, they all are. Okay, Jessica did us a clown. Jessica, that is tremendous. I love it. Joan did us a rabbit here in a cactus patch rather than a carrot patch. All right, we ran a little long today, guys. I'll show you more drawings next time around. Anyway, I hope you had a good time. I hope you learned something. I hope you had fun. I did. There's an address at the end of the show. If you want to contact us for any reason, please do. If you want us to get a letter back to you as soon as possible, please include a self-addressed stamped envelope. And just remember that you are always welcome at the Cartoon Factory. I'm going to finish up this poster. I'll show it to you next time. Bye-bye.